Welcome to Fight Nomad podcast episode number 7. Now, I can't find my remote mic, which really frustrates me, but also it's been a long time since I filmed this podcast episode, so I'm not going to let that stop me. We're just going to film this without a mic, and you're going to have to listen to the surround sound. Last time I filmed this podcast episode, it was around 10 to 12 days ago, and that was in Bangkok. Now, 10 days later, I am now in Canggu, Bali. And basically the past week has been completely dedicated to fight camp at Soma Fight Club. It's currently around 6:50 a.m. and I am filming this in this beautiful shared villa that I'm renting through a contact I found through Soma. Villa also comes with this playful little 8-month-old husky as well, so that's a nice bonus. And for those of you who are curious about cost of living, to rent part of a shared villa in Bali, at least for me, the cost was for 1 month, it was 9 million Indonesian rupees, which amounts to around $590. The topic of this podcast episode is going to be divided into 2 sections. The first section is going to be my first impressions of Canggu, Bali as a newcomer, and then the second section is going to be dedicated to my experience of fight camp at Soma Fight Club. First impressions of Canggu, Bali. Those of you who know a little bit about my past, I've been living for the past 7 years in Thailand. Originally that wasn't the intention. I was 20 years old when I came to Thailand. My dream was to be a digital nomad, travel around to different countries, but I ended up staying there for a couple years and COVID extended that a bunch. But now that the borders are open again, I'm traveling so much more. And now I'd love to tell you my first impressions of Canggu. What stopped me from coming to Bali for the longest time was because everyone in Thailand is always like, traffic is so insane in Bali. Traffic is horrible. Now, here's my impression having lived here. Yes, it is congested, and the reason why is because the roads are not made for cars. Essentially, I actually found this out a couple days ago. It's really interesting. In Canggu specifically, the paved roads were originally footpaths prior to them being paved. Now you have cars and scooters all trying to scoot down these narrow, what were originally footpaths, and that are all windy all over the place. So a lot of times they will become bottlenecks where it's just cars just cannot fit. But the funny thing is that traffic for Canggu is it took me 16 minutes to get to this place when normally it would have taken me 5. In relative terms, compared with, for example, the States, where it's normal to drive 40 minutes to go from one place to the next, this is the equivalent of being I had to sit 10 extra minutes in traffic. Other first impressions of Canggu that have been and maybe Bali in general, but that have really stood out to me, that made it unique, I'm always comparing with Thailand, is the dark stone temples that are just all around every street corner. I think Bali, correct me if I'm wrong, might be primarily Hindu and Buddhist, but there's on every corner, there's oftentimes you'll see all the time these small offerings. There'll be these grass plates with little offerings in it, crackers and little sweets and incense inside it, and you see that all the time. And also another thing that stands out a lot to me about Canggu specifically is that whenever I look up in the sky, I almost always see kites just floating in the sky, it's so unusual. I wasn't expecting that. And then also another thing that really stands out to me is you'll be driving along these small roads, and then at some point the road just opens up and you will have just these long lush rice fields that are just in between all of the buildings, and it's such a peaceful vibe that kind of sets a contrast to the congestion that you will experience on the roads. Another thing that I really quickly discovered on my first day at Soma is basically impossible to travel anywhere without a scooter. So the first day I literally just tried to walk to a rental place to rent a scooter, and I was just unable to walk across the road because there's just no pathways for people anymore. It's all just scooters. With that being said, I immediately rented a scooter, and that was the connection in Soma. And to provide a little bit of extra cost of living, if you're considering coming to Bali, I paid 900,000 Indonesian rupees, which is around $60 to rent a scooter for the month. Alternatively, I think there are also 2 transportation apps. There's Grab and there's an Indonesian app called Gojek, which is the most popular one, which I still haven't used. I just generally am lazy. I use Grab. Grab is also what is used in Thailand as well. Grab and Goja can also be used for food delivery as well, which is kind of like what I used quite a lot before I switched over to the Solomons for my meal prep for the fight camp. Okay, there's a tractor passing by. You'll probably hear it in the background. My favorite cafe, and which was referred to me by my friend Gustavo, is called Sin Cafe. And I like it. It's probably like 16-minute drive from here, and it's what I like a lot about it. It is huge. It's designed to force digital nomads. It has like a special place where people who work online can sit, and what I like the best about it is that it's right next to the beach. So like, for example, yesterday was Sunday and I went there and I worked a bit on my phone, and then afterwards I just went to the beach and walked along the ocean for a little bit and just chilled out, connected with nature, put my feet in the sand, and I really like that. I think I'm definitely going to go back to that cafe just to have that routine of the work and then go chill at the beach. That being said, I actually, the work-life balance or work-fight camp balance has not at all been what I was envisioning. Let's now move into section number 2, where I talk to you about my experience of fight camp at Soma Fight Club. I'm going to be transparent. When I came to Bali, to Canggu, to go train with Soma, in my head, my vision was, I was like, okay, great. I'm going to it's going to be like a perfect balance. Like in the morning, I'm going to work. In the evenings, I'm going to train for fight camp. And that's how it's going to work. But things are run a bit differently at Soma. Like the head coach is very present. He's there for all the fighters. Soma, has a number of very, very high level fighters in both striking, jiu-jitsu, and MMA. I think there's like 3 UFC fighters currently here at Soma. At Soma, they are so much more hands-on. The training has kind of just completely taken over my life over the past 10 days, because how they divide is they divide it into sessions. So it's like you have a 10 a.m. session, then you have a 4 p.m. session. And because the coaches, who are all really high level, they all know that you're fighting. I'm fighting on September the 1st. They push you extra hard. So just like with that kind of schedule of like 10 a.m. training and then 4 or 5 p.m. training again, with that kind of schedule, it was overly ambitious for me to want to achieve my entrepreneurial goals while also train for a fight camp at the same time. Although I keep on telling myself, it is possible, because like all the pro fighters that I respect and admire who are based in the States and in Australia, like that I've talked to, like they have full-time jobs and they're also can train like a professional. So it is a false assumption for me to say that you cannot be a pro fighter and have a full-time job. But then again, with that being said, I was totally unable to balance both of that during these past 10 days. Fight camp has wrecked me. Hopefully my body like shows some difference for it. In addition to the fight preparation, I think what has been different in this training camp is that I've started working specifically with a meal prep company and nutritionist, the Solomons, in order to prep, because we're going to be fighting at 62 kilograms, and normally I walk around at 67 kilograms. And in the past, like the mistake that I would make, because I'd always get so nervous about weight cuts, is that I would undereat, and then like the weeks coming up to the fight, I would have just zero energy to train. And so that was something that I noticed that I fucked up in my previous fight camp. So I was just like, okay, this time I want to work with someone in order to, make sure I don't make that same mistake again of under eating and then like getting really freaked out and then binge eating, not having energy to train. And so this time I've worked with the Solomons. They've given me like specific meal plans coming up to the fight, and it's definitely a lot more. It is like carbs, protein, vegetables, and now I've noticed like a complete difference coming up to the fight camp. So not only am I on track to like meet the weight, but also I've had like all the energy in order to train. So that's a really great progress and improvement compared with my previous fight camps, where I lost muscle, I lost energy, I lost cardio. That being said, I love the vibe at Soma. It's like a super nice family vibe. Like, the people who work there like greet you by name, nice community vibe where it's like really easy to make friends. I love it. It's become like, this has definitely become my second home. This also reaffirms to me like something that I love so much about how I've designed my lifestyle, embedding myself in the martial arts world, because it's like wherever I travel to, I can meet like-minded people who share similar interests. And especially with gyms like Soma, where they've created such like a nice environment for people to connect, it just makes it all the more easier, like when you're a nomad, to like go travel and then like immediately connect with a friendly community and make friends right away. And it's just such a good feeling. And in spite of the traffic in Canggu, Bali. I love it here so much. I think like this will definitely become one of my second homes. I think it's because of Soma. Like if Soma wasn't here, I would probably pick, I've heard a lot of good things about Uluwatu in Bali, which is a lot less crowded. Like right now, Canggu is definitely quite crowded. But for me, I have like a specific criteria for places when I'm traveling that I would consider living long term. And then for me, when I say long term, I'd say like 3 months is long term for me, 6 months is long term. My criteria is like, is there nature around? Check, there is nature. Although yes, the roads are congested, but definitely there is nature. Is there a fight culture around? In Canggu, Bali, 100% Soma Fight Club. Bali MMA, I heard, is also very popular. Huge fitness culture as well. CrossFit, all different kinds of gyms here in Canggu, all within like, 20 minutes drive. Is there a digital nomad culture in Canggu? Yes, like Bali is one of like the most popular places for digital nomads, and it's insane. The cafe culture is so great. So yes, in conclusion, I love it here so much. I also love Thailand, so yeah, Bali and Thailand are my two loves now. The day I'm filming this, it is August 28th. I am fighting on September 1st, which is today's Monday, so that'll be on Friday. And hopefully the next podcast episode, I give you a little bit of an update on that. Hopefully I'll have found my mic by then. I lose stuff pretty easily. But anyways, that is a little summary of what's been going on this past week. I hope you are doing well also. And have a lovely week.